Hello, my friends, what's up, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute, it's been a week. I totally meant to film last week, but woo, things got busy for me. And then in addition to that, you know, when you start feeling a little bit down in the dumps and just kind of a little bit just blue, you really don't have the motivation to do much of anything. So that being said, here we are. I am a week late in posting this, but we're going to talk today about the Huda Beauty Color Block Obsessions palettes. You guys know, if you've been with my channel for a hot minute, that I love the Obsessions palettes. Granted, some kind of fall under the mark, but for the most part, I am a fan. So when I saw that these were coming out, I was like, yes. So if you're interested in seeing how these have worked for me, let's go through swatches together on my skin tone and my husband's skin tone. And that way you have an idea of how they will show up on you. Let's just talk these palettes out and let's see if they're right for you. Let's get started. Alrighty, my friends. So I'm going to move quickly through this. So the cartons or the little packaging, it's the same Obsessions palette boxes, the clear, it's got the label on the back. Just a quick reference, they are $29 each. They have a 24-month shelf life, which I love because I keep palettes forever, quite frankly. And they are made in China, which is typical of these Obsessions palettes. So let's move into the palettes themselves. I love the packaging on this. I love unique. You guys know that. It's hard to, with just so many palettes out there, and over the years having collected so many palettes, whenever there's something out of the ordinary, I'm totally here for it. And I love that this is rubber on the front and it's like, it's raised. It's very fun. So I feel like a lot of people won't like it. I feel like people like me will like it. Something different, something out of the ordinary. And I also like that there's the like two folds. So there's the blue and then there's the yellow, which is going to correspond with the inside of the palette. Notice there's a yellow and there's a lot of blue. Same thing with the purple. You've got the purple and the orange, and it's going to correspond with the inside of the palette. Just so much fun. I love just different like this. And I am, you guys know also, I'm a sucker and a fan of Huda releases. I love the brand. There's rarely something she comes out with that I don't like. So for me, when I see something new is coming out, it is very much up my alley. So let's go ahead and jump into these palettes because I want to give you swatches real quick before we go into the demo. For reference, the demo, I'm going to be wearing different clothing. It's a totally different look. I had to film this over the course of 2 days. So that being said, let's go ahead and start with the purple one. So again, the colors will correspond. It's a acrylic packaging. Again, all of that is the same as her Obsessions palettes, the little mirror. I love that it's got the purple and orange border on the inside. I feel like a lot of thought went into the detail of this palette. So let's move into the swatches here. So this is what these look like right here. Oops, let me give you one more. So this is the metallic. Obsessions palettes can be hit or miss when it comes to swatching. I have found that sometimes they swatch the worst, but they perform the best. It's just, you know, it just depends. So here's the first four. Let me grab the next four. All right, so here are the next four. Obviously a lot lighter, especially when it comes to this lilac shade right here. I will again put up swatches on a deeper skin tone so that you know what it might look like on you if you are a deeper skin tone than I am. So if you are new to my channel or recently subscribed, the very kind individual who has loaned his arm to provide these swatches is my husband. So thank you to him for helping out with that. But this is what we've got here. And then let me give you the final swatch. We're going to do the cake liners separately. So we'll bump over to the other palette and then do the cake liners so that we can do them together. But this is the final purple, which is also a metallic shade. And then one thing about the Obsessions palettes that I'm always a fan of are the metallics, because I feel like they add a layer of sparkle and just twinkle that is so, so pretty. And people find them to be hit or miss. And I just, it's Michelle, so she's gonna go against the grain. She's gonna really like them. But anyways, so that is that. Let me grab the blue palette so that we can go through swatches there. So here we have got the first four, and I didn't even point out to you which ones the split pan ones are in the last palette. What am I even doing with my life? So for reference, these last two here are the split pan In the last swatches, which, I mean, you'd have to rewind to go back to that, but it's the purple and orange that are the split pan, or I know there's a few purples, but it's the lighter of the purples and the orange that are the split pans. Split pans for me, I know in theory, it's great because you get extra shades. For me, I find it harder to work a brush or a finger in there, especially because I like to use my finger when using metallic shades. But anyways, nonetheless, they are very, very lovely. This is just reminding me of a swimming pool in the summer, putting on some sunscreen, the smell of sunscreen. Oh my goodness, giving me all the feels. So let me grab the next four. So here we are with the next four. Again, not the best of swatches, especially this one right here. Yeah, that's not my favorite, but we'll talk about that more here at when we get to my final thoughts. But here is what this set of mattes looks like. And then let me have an itch. And then let me grab you the very last swatch in this palette. Very, very pretty, just such a pretty pool blue. And that one did swatch nicely, so that's what we've got going on there. Okay, so the cake liners is what really, really drew me into these. I love a good cake liner. There's a Morphe palette. I can't remember which one it is. It's a collab, and it's got 2 rows of cake liners, and I love using those. There's something so intriguing to me about what looks to be a powder product that just activates with water and becomes a bold eyeliner. So let me grab the cake liner swatches, and I'll be right back. Friends, so here's what we've got going on for the cake liners, the blue and the purple on my skin tone. I will tell you already, after having used both for a couple of times already, I like the blue. The blue just really pops. And so, but here's what these look like on my skin tone, and again, on my husband's skin tone, in the event that it's helpful for you. So that being said, we've gone over the swatches. You have an idea of what they look like, if you hadn't already, because this has been out for a while, for a couple weeks now. But let's move into the demo. I will do one palette for each eye so that you can see how those go on, so that you have an idea. Obviously today I am wearing the purple version, which after having put on my dress, I'm like, okay, well, I totally got those wrong. I should have used the opposite. But that being said, let's get into the demo now so that you can see how this applies, and we'll come back for final thoughts after that. So starting off with a blending brush and using the matte on the top right corner, I am going to just grab this and place this in the crease just as an all-over wash of color. I'm just really trying to go in with the lightest shade so that I can build up and add a deeper shade for dimension. So just adding a couple of layers to the desired intensity that I wanted. But what I have found about these shades is that they are very buildable. You can kind of consider them like pastels. So going in with that same brush, I'm going in with the right corner shade from the last row, and these are incredibly dusty, but I feel like that's usually the case with the Obsessions palette mattes. So I'm just placing this on the outermost portion of my crease, and this just really intensified everything. It is such a pretty pool blue type of shade, and it just goes on really nicely, builds well. I mean, really upon first application, I had a ton of pigment. Okay, so now it's time to go in with that deepest blue. Obviously, I'm trying to go from lightest to deepest. So now we're at the deepest shade, and I'm just applying this to the outermost portion of the lid. Out of all of the shades in this palette, I feel like this is the one I kind of like the least, but I do have to say that it does apply pretty decently given that it doesn't swatch the greatest, but still not my favorite. Going in with the Fenty Pro Filter Eye Primer, I'm just going to dab a little bit of this on the blank space of my lid. This is what's going to give the tacky base that I need to apply those metallics. This is my very favorite tacky base to get metallics, glitters, sparkly finishes to just really stick and pop. So I'm going in, I didn't even show you in the palette, it's the marbled shade in the top row, and it is the solid pan of metallic. So just going in and placing this on a good portion of the lid, primarily on the middle, just leaving that innermost portion blank because I am going to go in with a lighter metallic, but obviously applying with my finger. That is how I like to apply these shades best. Okay, so next I'm going to go in with a brush and I'm going to go into that split pan and go in with that lighter aqua shade. This is such a beautiful shade. Now I'm not a huge fan of split pan shadows just because it is harder to get your brush in there. For me, my finger, I do prefer to apply these with my finger. And I have found with these split pan metallics that especially with these Huda Obsessions, that just using my finger is best. I get the most intense pigmentation using my finger, but obviously for taking it up into the area that I just did, a brush is best. Okay, so now obviously had to dig a little bit, but obviously it paid off because you can tell the intensity is just so much more when laying this down with my finger instead of the brush. So now I'm going to go in with the yellow shade and I'm just going to apply some of that in the crease area right above that kind of teal matte that we initially went into. So this is just going to kind of add a little bit more of a pop and it just is so pretty. This yellow I love applying all over my lid and a little bit into the crease. And for a yellow, it is surprisingly nice. So next I am going back into that blue shade. I'm going to place down some of what I lost when I was laying down those metallics, just kind of adding back in that depth and definition. And I always struggle with getting it into that crease area of the outer portion of my lid, but just trying to dig it in there. And it ended up looking really nice. All right, so just like that, we've moved on to the purple palette. So I'm going in with that lighter peach shade on the top row. I'm going to add this to my crease, to the innermost portion of my crease. And then take it out. I did go kind of far into my crease, a little further than I typically go, but I did want that orange to really peek out on all sides. So just adding a couple of layers, I feel like these just build, these oranges are really nice in this palette. I'm thoroughly enjoying them. So just taking it down not only into my crease, but just a little bit onto the outermost portion of my lid, not too much, but I do want that to peek out once we're done. So going in with that deeper orange shade, and I'm going to do exactly what I did with the blue, and I'm going to go ahead and build this up on the outermost portion of my crease, as well as take it onto that outer portion of the lid. It's just going to add that same thing again, like the blue, I'm taking it from lightest to deepest. So, and this one deepens up very, very well. So let's move in with some purple. This is a matte purple, and again, it's very dusty. You couldn't see it as well as the blue, but still. Just placing this on the outer portion of my lid just to, again, deepen up. Now, one thing that's funny is that you would think in the pan this would be very deep, and it actually, once you apply it, goes on a lot lighter than you would think. So for me, I did have to layer 2 or 3 times just because I wanted something really rich and deep just to make things a little smokier there. But it is a very nice purple. I'm not mad about it, and I really do like the tone. And I feel like the fact that it is a little lighter lends itself to other nice looks. And obviously the frustration is real with getting that pigment up in the, like where the lid meets my crease. I always end up with a bald spot and I never understand why. It's just so difficult to pack the product in there. Let me know if you have that same problem. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my Fenty Pro Filter Eye Primer once more. Just going to lay this down again on the blank area of the lid wherever I am going to lay down a metallic shade. Now I'm going to go in with metallics, which are my favorites. Again, the struggle is real to get pigment on a brush with these split pans. It just doesn't leave a lot of room. So just placing this down with the brush on the innermost portion of my lid and just right away just going to go in with my finger because the brush was just not doing it for me. So as soon as I went in with product on my finger, it really made such an impact. And quite frankly, I think the tone of this purple is my favorite purple within this palette. It just goes on so nicely, has such a twinkle. But if you need to get into those tight spaces of your lid, obviously you're going to have to use a brush. So now I'm going to go in with that purple metallic on the lower right-hand corner of the palette. And this was so unexpected because I thought this was going to be a lot lighter. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I thought it was going to be a thinner formula, but this one is so rich and intense. One layer will do it for you. It is very, very rich. So the placement is easy and using a finger is perfect. So I'm going to go back in with that metallic shade in that split pan, again with a brush, because I'm just trying to reapply some so that it kind of meshes well with that shade I just put in the middle. I feel like once I finished the look, it was almost like you couldn't really tell the difference between the two shades. They just kind of blended together, but it's fine. Going back in with that purple matte, and I'm just going to lay this on the outer portion of my lid once more just to, again, replace what I lost when I laid down that metallic shade. So I'm just going to build this up a little to add that smokiness, and on camera I do feel like it's all looking like one shade all across the lid, even though we've got 3 different formulas and shades going on, but it's all good. Still looks very, very pretty. Looks like a very, very nice purple moment. And just like that, you guys, this completes both looks. The blue and the purple, although I have to say, I think the blue is my favorite. All right, so I hope you found that helpful. And I'm just sitting here looking at like all these little baby hairs just anyways, so total squirrel moment. Let's talk final thoughts about these bad boys so that you have an idea of how they've been working for me, because obviously one demo means nothing. I mean, it helps give a good understanding of how they're working on somebody, but you know, it takes a couple of times to fully get, you know, your hands around something and determine if it's right for you. So packaging, we've already talked about. I love the packaging. I hope she keeps doing unique things like this. So let's talk about the blue one first, because I'm going to flat out tell you this is my favorite of the two. This is the one that just is really more, not even unique, because neither one of these is unique. I can probably duplicate quite a bit of this in my collection already. But when you have a one-stop shop with like these types of shades, then, you know, it's all housed in one place. It's, yeah, I love it. So as far as pigmentation and as far as pop, this is the one that I think is just the standout of the two. The metallics in this I really enjoy. Again, they have this pop aspect that they just leap off the eye kind of, you know, and then the mattes, I actually like how they apply very much. I have done a few times where I grab just one of these mattes, do it as a wash with a blending brush. I will put it over my eyelid as a wash of color, add a little bit to the crease, and have a one shade moment, and it just looks really, really nice. And the crazy thing is, they hold all day long. And for me, like this, I would associate this kind of like with a pastel, that it would start kind of fading down throughout the day, and I haven't experienced that. So this palette really was just spot on for me. I love the cake liner in this palette. It just, again, pop, and on its own, it's pretty perfect. Let's see, I had one other thought to tell you on this. Oh, the split pan, again, not a fan of split pans just because, again, I like to go in with my finger to pack these types of finishes on my lid, and it's kind of hard to do that, and I have very stubby fingers. So that being said, with a brush is easier, but I have to dig a little bit just because the pan is so small. But I very much like this palette. I feel like overall, the shades work well. I feel like my least favorite is probably this blue one, which ironically is the one that swatched the poorest, but that's okay. I feel like overall, it was a very, very well thought out palette. Just, I mean, again, not in its unique aspect, just I like that it's got the cake liner. It's, even though I don't like split pans, it does lend more to various looks. It's just, I like it a lot. And then the purple one, I do like it. And you guys know purple I really reach for because it's a shade that makes my eye color pop. And I like this palette. There's just, maybe it's just because I'm hung up on the blue one that I don't like this one as much. It's still very nice. I had seen people say that like, some of these metallics weren't really popping or just weren't really rich. And I don't know, like on mine, they do come off very rich. Now, as far as the pop, the blue takes the score on that. But The pigmentation is really nice on my metallic. So I don't know, maybe it's just how you use it, who knows. I love the orange in this, and I wish it had its own pan just because I love a good orange shade. It reminds me of an orange dreamsicle, or maybe I don't even need to say orange dreamsicle. It just reminds me of a dreamsicle. And it's just very fresh and summery, and I really like orange. And so wish this had its own pan, but that's okay. I'll take it how it is. I actually really like the shade of this purple as well. That is my favorite tone of purple out of all of these shades in the palette. And then this, for me, this purple blue, it's almost like it's a purple, but it leans blue. And so that's probably my least favorite. Anyways, that being said, I feel like all of the mattes performed just fine in this palette. This lilac one is a little light, I will say, and it's what I have here on the innermost portion of my crease. But even on my skin tone, it's light. I have to build 3 or 4 times. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt, especially if you are of a deeper skin tone than I. But the oranges, ooh, I love how they apply. They look so pretty on the crease or in the crease, and I will do that in the crease alone and call it a day. And they just look so good. It looks fresh and it just looks nice, and I don't have to build a ton of times with those. So anyways, still a lovely palette. If you like purple tones, then you may want to check this one out, especially because it's got that mix with the orange. But out of the two, definitely love the blue more. I'm so happy she came out with these, and honestly, I hope she keeps coming out with more unique stuff like that. Alrighty, my friends, well, a couple of things before I let you go. Please give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, if you're still watching to the end. It helps me out so very much, and if you are new, I hope you'll consider subscribing. Before I let you go, I just want to give you a very quick verse of the day to motivate you, encourage you, to just tell you that Jesus loves you in a very chaotic world. Today's comes from 2 Samuel 22:31, and it says, "As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is flawless. He is a shield for all who take refuge in him." I hope that's encouraging to you, my friends. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Love you guys, but Jesus loves you so very much more. Take care. Bye.